Time for Ask Zach. This segment is the way I end every single one of my podcasts. People who support me on Patreon, patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. It's $1 a month. You can give me more if you want. It would really help. It pays my bills literally. But if you pay $1 a month, it gives you access to ask questions through Patreon. I only accept questions on Patreon through the Patreon DM services, or you can comment on the posts I put on Patreon. And I will not guarantee to discuss your question on the show. But I do guarantee if you send a question to me, patreon.com/Zach Schaumler, I'll look at it with my eyeballs, and I considered it, and then I pick the best couple and talk about them at the end of every episode. So the first question I want to talk about today is from Andrew. Andrew writes in, and I don't have Andrew's thing written down, of course, so I have to go open my phone and find Andrew's question. Andrew, that's my fault. He sent me a DM. By the way, the Patreon app, patreon.com, I just go to the app store. I don't know what it's called. But the app store, the Patreon app is fantastic. I really love it. Andrew writes in and says this. Andrew says, "Hey, Zach, I love your videos. I listen to them during work. And a video subject you should do is analysis of why Matt LaFleur is 4-1 while every other rookie head coach is doing awful." So first of all, there are 8 new NFL head coaches, and they combined for a record of 14-31-1. Matt LaFleur is the only head coach with a winning record right now. He's 5-1. He's a Packers head coach. And I just want to go through every coach and talk about the situation each one is facing and facing. English is hard. I don't know. But I want to talk about every head coach and talk about the scenario they're in, who I feel good about, who I don't feel good about, and kind of why they're in the scenario they're in. So I want to start with the Dolphins and the Bengals. The Dolphins are 0-5 with their new head coach, Brian Flores. The Bengals are 0-6 with new head coach, Zach Taylor. Both are awful. The Dolphins, I'm certain, are tanking and literally not trying to win games. I think the Bengals are doing the same. The Bengals, I think, want a new quarterback. Maybe they're trying to get Tua. Who knows? But the Bengals defense is awful, and both franchises are English is hard. Both franchises are a mess. They're just not trying to win. They're putting out an awful product, and I think that the jobs are secure. Brian Flores' job is safe. Zach Taylor's job is safe. My guess is both franchises made the decision, we are intentionally trying to lose, and we want really good draft picks. I'm sure it happens in the NFL. That's what I see. Now, the Browns are 2-4, and things are going very, very bad. The new head coach, Freddie Kitchens, he's a first-time head coach, and he's struggling to create a good culture. I think, honestly, the problem here is that Freddie Kitchens needs to relinquish and delegate some of the other responsibilities to other coaches. He's right now the play caller for the Browns. I think that's a lot. I don't think he should be doing that. I think a lot of good coaches, Bill Belichick even, Brian Flores, the Dolphins head coach, was last year the defensive play caller in New England. Bill Belichick delegated that responsibility to Brian Flores. Right now, when I watch Freddie Kitchens, the Browns head coach, he just looks a bit overwhelmed. The Browns' offensive line is bad, and their quarterback, Baker Mayfield's struggling. He's got 5 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. And I think it's very possible that Freddie Kitchens is fired at the end of this year. He's not putting out a good product. I think the Browns can do better, and they need a better head coach. I was very disappointed when they hired Freddie Kitchens because I really thought Bruce Arians was out there who wanted to be there, and the Browns didn't take him. The Browns had an opportunity to have a great head coach, and they didn't take him, and that made me very disappointed. The Broncos are 2-4. The Denver Broncos, surprisingly, their defense hasn't been great. They had their first good performance finally, and they played the Titans this week. The reason why I expected a lot from the Broncos defense was because their head coach, Vic Fangio, was the former Bears defensive coordinator. And maybe the truth is that, it's just when you have a bunch of great personnel on defense, it's really easy to look incredible. I think, honestly, though, the problem with Vic Fangio is that he's a great football mind. He's a really good coordinator. And being a good coordinator does not necessarily mean you'll be a good head coach. They're very different responsibilities. One is you're nerdy, you understand the game of football really well, you can make great play calls. A great head coach is not necessarily he's got to be a good football mind. But a great head coach's job is to set the tone and build the culture. And I think it's possible Vic Fangio is a great football mind, who's a good coordinator, who's not good at setting the tone and creating a good culture. That's what I see when I watch the Denver Broncos. I'm also, I am not sure that he's suited as a head coach, but I'm also curious about their quarterback situation. They have, Joe Flacco's been And I haven't watched a lot of Joe Flacco. I really, really want to do a film analysis of him, probably at the end of the year. Like, is he good? I have no idea. Maybe towards like week 13 or whatever. I don't know. But I really want to do a film analysis of Joe Flacco and determine whether he's a good quarterback or not. And honestly, I don't think he is a good quarterback. But why is important to me? Like, why is he a bad quarterback? Why is he not more successful? What does he do? And my other weird concern with the Denver Broncos is, what's up with their backup quarterback, Drew Lock? He's had this thumb injury. He's been on the injury reserve for a long time. He's the second-round draft pick. He might be the future. Like, he was not ready at all when I watched him in college. He made a lot of boneheaded throws in college at Missouri. But people, I think, expect he might be the next guy, and I am not. Is he even practicing? Like, it's very weird what's going on with Drew Lock. He's got this thumb injury. He's been gone. It feels like the Broncos are just hiding him, and I don't really understand what's going on there. Now, the Buccaneers and their new head coach, Bruce Arians, are also 2-4. They're in bad shape, but Bruce Arians' job is safe. I think he's doing a fine job. Jameis Winston, the quarterback, is the problem in Tampa Bay. I think they got to bring in a new quarterback. Maybe Arians, I thought going in that Bruce Arians might be able to help him, and it's not working. I made a comparison earlier to Ron Howard was made the director of Star Wars movie. It's a Han Solo spinoff called Solo. The movie was not going well, so they brought in Ron Howard to do it, to fix the movie. And even Ron Howard, a really good director who's done good work in the past, couldn't save that movie project. I don't think Bruce Arians, who's a good coach, who's done good things, even Bruce Arians cannot save Jameis Winston. Now, the Jets are 1-4. Their new head coach, Adam Gase. I honestly, I have hope for them. I know that sentence didn't make sense, but I think I have hope for the Jets with Adam Gase. They're 1-4 right now, sure, but they missed their quarterback Sam Darnold for a month. They're 1-1 with Sam Darnold. They had a really tough loss to the Buffalo Bills, who's I think the Bills are a really good team. They lost 16-17. It was a hard-fought game. They're very, very close. I mean, the Bills' defense is great. They gave up a great fight to the Patriots. It's an admirable loss. Admirable loss. And last week, the Jets beat the Cowboys, and Sam looked really good. So I have hope for in New York for the Jets. I think the Jets are doing a lot of good stuff. I feel really good about them moving forward. Now, the Cardinals have a losing record. They're 2-3-1. But they're doing good stuff. I like their head coach, Cliff Kingsbury. And their young quarterback, Kyler Murray, shows progress every single week. I feel good about it. I did a whole topic about him if you want to listen to it at the beginning of the show. But I feel good about what the Cardinals are doing in Arizona. Now, the Packers. The question asked about the Packers. Why is Matt LaFleur 5-1? You got to understand, every new head coach in the NFL last year stepped into a really bad scenario, except for Matt LaFleur. Every team that got a new head coach was awful, except the Packers. And not only did Matt LaFleur step into a team with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, a good running back, Aaron Jones, they also added good players in free agency. They brought in Zadarius Smith. They brought in Preston Smith, two great outside linebackers who've had a huge impact on this Packers defense. They traded for, I can't remember the safety right now. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of the safety. They brought in a safety I really liked from the Bears. They made a lot of small moves that I really, really liked. And their defense is much, much better. The culture with the Packers is better. Guys are having fun. I think the Packers were a team that was hungry to win, who didn't like their head coach, and they really, really like Matt LaFleur. They're fighting hard for him. So Matt LaFleur has done a great job. He's had a big impact. But you also got to remember, with the Packers that are 5-1, he's the only new coach who's successful. Well, it doesn't hurt to have Aaron Rodgers and a great defense. Like, he was really set up to succeed. He's still doing it. He's still doing a good job. He's driving the car down the road. But I always talk about fast cars. Matt LaFleur got a Ferrari. Every other coach that joined an NFL team this year, Freddie Kitchens, and maybe not so much. Freddie Kitchens is really bombed. But the Broncos, the Bengals, the Dolphins, those are not sports cars. It's like a beat up. I drove a Volkswagen Jetta in high school. It was just, I got it for free from a drug dealer. I'm not even kidding. That's what the Dolphins are. They're a horrible mess. Their muffler's broken. You can't get into the car. The air conditioning doesn't work. The windows don't roll down. Like, that's what the Dolphins are. You gave Matt LaFleur the keys to a really good car with the Packers. And look, he's done good. But they're like, hey, just keep it on the road. And it's hard to do that when your car barely works. So my point is that Matt LaFleur got a great roster. Of course, he's being a lot more successful than all the other head coaches that are new in the NFL this year. Okay, John and Josh asked similar questions. If I could find the piece of paper with all the questions on it. Josh sent me a nice message. Josh says this. He says, first, let me say I love your content and all the hard work that goes into it. I know it isn't easy. My question is, what did you think of Devlin Hodges' first NFL start? I know he had an interception and only 3 points in the second half, but I thought the running game helped him stay calm, and I think he did well. Anyways, good luck on the show and hope to see you at 1 million soon. Let's get to 250,000 first. 250,000, 500,000, 750,000. If we ever get to 1 million, that'd be incredible. I really want to get 250,000 next. John writes in and says, John, hey, Zach, I love the show, and I'm happy to be able to support you on here. Thank you. John and Josh, both of you guys, thank you for your support. You always put a smile on my face, and you make a great show. My question is, what are your thoughts on Devlin Hodges' first start in the NFL against the Chargers? I did not get to watch the game, but based on the fact that James Conner had 7 receptions, leads me to believe there were plenty of design screens and a lot of throws underneath. He had a good completion percentage and a touchdown. What is the story outside of the numbers? I did watch the game. That's my job. And actually, I think the numbers are the story here. The Steelers beat the Chargers in L.A. 24-17. And Devlin, Duck Hodges, I don't know why. Is Duck like the short term for Devlin? I have no idea. But Duck Hodges is not the story here. He's the third string quarterback. He came off the bench. He led the Steelers to a victory. But the Steelers defense was great. They had 2 interceptions. They also had a touchdown on defense, by the way. They had a pick 6. 2 interceptions. They also had a fumble recovery. And the Steelers' offense was very, very safe. This is the inside baseball behind Devlin Hodges, maybe inside football because we're talking about football. The Steelers ran the ball 36 times. 36 times. Very, very safe. And they ran the ball really well. And Hodges, the Steelers quarterback, was 15 for 20. It's a good completion percentage. But he really didn't push the ball downfield at all. Threw a bunch of checkdowns, threw some screen passes, threw dinky little throws underneath. No knock on him. He did a good job. Teddy Bridgewater's been doing that for a couple weeks, and I think Teddy Bridgewater's better than Devlin Hodges, but Devlin Hodges executed the offense well. I think Devlin Hodges, honestly, executed better than Mason Rudolph did. But one of Devlin Hodges' touchdown passes was a check down. I mean, congratulations, Duck. You did a good job. But let's slow down a little bit. I love his story. I love the fact that he won the game. But honestly, he's done nothing impressive yet. And here's the sad reality about Duck Hodges is that, the Steelers have a bye week this week. They play the Dolphins in week 8. And if he does, in fact, play against the Dolphins, he could succeed again. But Mason Rudolph is coming back. Mason Rudolph just got cleared to play in week 8. And then whoever plays against the Colts week 9 for the Steelers, they're in trouble, whether it's Duck Hodges or Mason Rudolph. And if it is, in fact, if Duck Hodges ever does play again, and if he does play against the Colts, we will learn a lot about who he really is as a quarterback. But what I saw on Sunday was a team that really masked the youth of their quarterback, running the ball really well, throwing a lot of screen passes, little dinky throws underneath. And then Devlin Hodges is a guy who he did that role well. He did a good job taking what the defense gave him, throwing the ball underneath. Solid performance, but again, not that impressive. We didn't see any big throws downfield. Kyle Allen has done a great job for the Panthers, and you see bigger throws farther downfield into tight windows against man coverage. Duck Hodges didn't do that against the Chargers. And unless something crazy happens and Duck Hodges wins the job in practice, we're probably not going to see him play again the rest of the year unless Mason Rudolph gets hurt. But hey, it is encouraging. If you're a Steelers fan, you have a good backup who can do that role well, and I feel good about Devlin Hodges, but Duck Hodges is not really an NFL quarterback, a starting NFL quarterback. He's a great backup. He's in the role he should be in, and he probably won't play again the rest of the year. Okay, Nate writes in about the Redskins. It's a long one, but I think it's a good one. And honestly, Nate, in the prep I did for your question, I kind of ignored your question, but I still think it's an interesting proposition to talk about. And you'll hear what I mean in a minute. Nate writes in and says this. Nate says, I'm a huge fan of the show, and as someone who's only gotten into football in the last couple of years, I find that your podcast really helps me understand the game and also keep up with everything that's going on. I want to commend you for speaking so openly about your brother. As someone who had a dear friend take his own life, I want to say I really understand that pain. I think your brother would be proud of you, and I would love everything you're doing in Strong Opinion Sports. Thank you so much, Nate. Nate's question is this. Nate says, you've spoken about the Redskins' various issues both on the field and within the management. If ownership were not the issue, what do you think it would realistically take for the team to beef up its roster to the point where it's at least a playoff-worthy team? Thanks, and have a blessed day. Okay, Nate. Look, the Redskins need everything. They need a quarterback. They need a head coach. They need an offensive line. It's a mess. And what's really sad is that briefly the Redskins looked really good with Alex Smith before he got hurt. And you ask me, if we forget, what does he say here? It says, if ownership were not an issue, look, it is though. You can't ignore that. It's too big a problem to ignore, and ownership and management leads to the product on the field. So as much as I would love to just listen to your question and say, okay, let's ignore the management, what it needs to go on in the roster, that's not how it works. I cannot see the Redskins becoming a playoff-worthy team the way things are going. They need a new head coach. And the problem is they can't attract a truly quality head coach. They're not going to get one. They might get some schmuck who nobody wants because only someone who's desperate is going to go to the Redskins. The arrogance it would take to think you can win with a bad owner who controls all your moves and picks players for you, that's a pretty arrogant, silly guy. Like if Robert Saleh, the 49ers head defensive coordinator, left the 49ers and went to the Redskins, it'd be a very, very foolish thing. Okay, let's go make a good defense and try to win with Dwayne Haskins at quarterback. Like maybe, I don't think that would work. Here's what I do know. I think there are two options that the Redskins have that are better than all the others. One option right now, I don't know if it's really an option, but it's a rumor you hear. A rumor I keep hearing circulating is that the Redskins want to trade for the Steelers head coach, Mike Tomlin. Bam, that solves all your problems. Because here's the thing. The only way you're going to get a good head coach if you're the Redskins is if you force someone to be a part of your franchise. Because you're not going to just get a coach willing, like Bill Belichick's and Pete Carroll's of the world. They're not going to just say, oh yeah, let's go work with the Redskins. No. Nobody of quality is attracted to that job. But if you trade for Mike Tomlin and force him to come, there you go. You get a solid head coach. The other option is this. I've heard, Rex Ryan has talked about wanting the Redskins job. Rex Ryan, I think, really badly wants to be a head coach. And I actually like Rex Ryan. He's quirky. A lot of people don't like him. But I think he's hungry and he wants to coach again in the NFL. Remember, he coached for the Jets and the Bills. He had a brief period where with the Jets, he even beat up on the Patriots. He looked really good. Rex Ryan would take the job, and I would give it to him. He's maybe the best option the Redskins have to get a somewhat quality head coach to come to Washington. And, a lot of the former players from Rex Ryan love him. A lot of his former players believe in him. I think he's a good head coach. He understands defense. He knows how to win with a young quarterback like Dwayne Haskins. Of all the options the Redskins have right now, that I think is the best one is Rex Ryan or Mike Tomlin. I actually honestly lean towards Rex Ryan. I think Rex Ryan, the formula he made work with Mark Sanchez could work with Dwayne Haskins and that Redskins team. And so that's what I would do. I don't know that the Redskins have a chance to become a playoff team anytime soon. And I know you asked, what do they need to do on their roster? Well, they need to get rid of their heavy contracts. They have very expensive contracts that are not. I think Josh Norman is one of those that just is like, man, you're paying this guy a lot of money. He's not really performing at a high level. But it starts with management. Until you get rid of the management there, it's not going to work in Washington. And then even if you can overcome management, you got to get a good head coach to show up. And I think the best hope right now for the Redskins is, in fact, Rex Ryan, who's right now working for ESPN as an analyst. So good luck. If you're Washington, good luck. I don't think anybody wants to work with them. And I'm not very encouraged or excited about their future.